what are some, I mean, to just get into it, what are some ways we can increase that diversity in our gut?
Yeah. The good thing is there's a number of things you can do, and the other good thing is it's never too late. You could be 85 years old and had a life full of, whiskey and hot dogs and antibiotics, and still improve the diversity of your microbiome. So it's never too late. And one of the first things you want to do is start to diversify your diet, right? So what you eat has a massive impact on the status of your microbiome and what the ecosystem looks like. So you want to start expanding the diversity of your diet, especially in the plant-based categories, right? So if you're looking at fruits and vegetables and roots and tubers and things like that, right? So adding new ones into your diet on a regular basis. You don't have to eat a lot of it. You just have to eat a good variety. The second part of it is adding fiber into your diet. So you want both soluble and insoluble fiber. So you could start with as simple as psyllium husk. Psyllium husk does improve some of the digestive function and the regularity. It's not very fermentable, so it does support the microbiome to a certain degree, but it's not the best fiber if you really want to grow your microbiome. If you really want to grow your microbiome, you would look at fibers like something called PHGG, partially hydrolyzed guar gum, arabinogalactans, pectins, inulin, those types of things. Or, of course, also getting your fiber from foods, right? So fruits and vegetables and so on also provide, nuts and seeds provide a lot of good fiber. So you want to get your fiber intake upwards of 40 grams per day, 45 grams per day. That's a great goal because there's actually some really, really good data around that, right? So there's a couple of really big meta-analysis studies. So the latest one looked at almost 900,000 patients worth of data. And what they found was that every 10 grams of fiber you add to your daily diet, it reduces your all-cause mortality. That means dying from any disease or anything outside of, obviously getting hit by a bus or something, all-cause mortality by 10%. Right? And that's all the way up to 40%. So everybody right now has the power to reduce their risk of dying from anything, any disease condition, any health-related condition by 40%.
Crazy.
Right? That's
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
If that was a pill that we were selling, it'd be $1 trillion product,
Yeah.
right? Like you're almost cutting your risk of dying from things in half. And so all you have to do is kind of reduce fiber, increase fiber to that 40 gram level.
What's really interesting, the Finnish studies about saunas too have like a 40% increase in all-cause mortality when done above certain temperature for 4 times a week. So you start to stack these things and you really start to set yourself up for success. What's also really interesting, I've had some carnivore people on, Dr. Anthony Chafee on, and he talks, about all just carnivore eating red meat. And he talks about how the body doesn't need fiber and how we don't need these vegetables. It's so interesting. And I've had other doctors on, like Dr. Joel Furman, who's very plant-based. He's like less than 5% of your calories should come from animal-based foods. And he talks about, again, the diversity and the importance of like fiber and these green things. It's so interesting to see how you have people who are medically trained or who are, studied in these things, and they still can't agree. Like they're often reading the same papers, but they come to different conclusions. It's very frustrating for the layman.
It is, and I'll say this, it frustrates me too, especially when it comes to diet, right? Because for some reason, people have become very activist-minded when it comes to the diet of their choice. And generally, this is my thinking. If someone's entire persona is based on a diet, you can't really believe what they're saying, right? Because they have to cherry pick information to support their persona. So, like, what's his name? Paul
Saladino.
Saladino, yeah. He was a vegan at first, right? That was his whole thing, and then he became the carnivore MD. And the thing is, like, he created his entire personality around being a carnivore, and so it's hard to go back. But he, in fact, has gone back, as you probably have seen. Now his diet is way more diverse. He's adding fruits and vegetables and all that to his diet. I think in large part because he's getting some health scares. He's probably looking at some blood work and going, "Oh my God, this is actually not good." And so I would really look at what the research is saying. And you're totally right that people can look at similar studies and kind of tweak out and pull out different things. And so what we really have to look at is like the collection of research, right? There is no empirical or research support for the idea that no fiber in your diet is beneficial in any way at all, right? There's none. Now, some of the carnivore people will cite like Inuit Indians, right? They'll say, well, look at the Inuit Indians. They survive predominantly on seal blubber, right? Well, that's actually not even true. And there's a couple of nuances there. Number one, Inuit Indians actually have genetic SNPs that in their choline function and so on that actually allow them to utilize fat in a way that's even different than us, right? If either one of us or anyone went and just started eating nothing but seal blubber, we'd be sick as can be, right? We wouldn't survive. But they have genetic SNPs that evolution, natural selection is selected for those SNPs. The other part of it that they never talk about is their diets actually contain a lot of wild berries. And greens that are evergreen plants and fruits, and so they actually eat quite a bit of that. And in some times of the year they eat more of that than they eat seal blubber because it's hard to get seals, right? So yeah, it's crazy. And I'll talk about it from the perspective of the microbiome, which I think from a dietary perspective, that's the most important way to look at how you feed your system, right? Because it's the microbes that dictate how your body functions. And as a result, you have to feed your microbes. And absolutely, the predominance of microbes need plant-based material, right? Does that mean you have to be vegan or vegetarian? Absolutely not, right? You just need to have adequate fiber and polyphenol intake in your diet, both through supplementation, I would always recommend, so that you have a certain amount that you're getting and certain diversity you're getting, and then the rest of it as much as you can from food, right? And it doesn't mean that steak is bad for you. It doesn't mean that meat is bad. People can see through that, but you're totally right in that it's absolutely frustrating when you get these contrarian views all over the place.